Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another engaging training session for our CFO community addressing eliminations, goals for federal year 19. At the conclusion of each session, please complete the short evaluation found in your welcome package and turn it into the registration desk upon your departure. For those seeking CPEs, a representative will be signing forms at the designated CPE tables outside. I think there's a table on either end of the hallway. Sharing their insights today are our guests, Judy and Emma. A lot of you know them already, so I'll give the floor away to them.
So I want to thank everybody for coming to listen to Emma and myself. I'm Judy Cotter. I'm the Assistant Director of FMCB, the Financial Management Coordination Branch, in the DHS Headquarters Office of Financial Management.
Yes, and I'm Emma Munoz Rosario. I'm leading the Eliminations group. We're working all together. Welcome to Siesta tonight. I know everybody's thinking this is the time for the siesta, but it's not. I want actually to make it very interactive. If you have questions, please raise your hand, let me know. If I'm speaking too fast, let me know. So let's go start. Okay. What brought us here today? We're here because at the government level, Treasury, the GAO, according to GAO, agencies across the government have been unable to reconcile intergovernmental balances. And we know that. We know that that happened across the government. And to be specific, this is the only part I'm going to read on the presentation, where exactly says Treasury has a government-wide material weakness due to the inability to adequately account for and reconcile intergovernmental activity and balances between federal entities. This is what brought us here. This is what is happening at the government level. Treasury required that the difference should be eliminated to zero. And we know that at year-end, fiscal year 17, we were all working together at year-end, rushing to get our elimination down to zero. Then during fiscal year 18, we worked with establish the threshold, work to those thresholds, and get it down. And during fiscal year 19, we start working with the components again among all of us, and reducing and establishing policies and procedures to eliminate the balances. What is elimination? Elimination involves buy and sell, which transactions are between agencies, and also know all these transactions are also known as reverse volatility or interagency agreements. That is all in reciprocal categories. What is reciprocal categories? Those HGL that account for accounts that usually be used to recognize activity. Buy-sell elimination occurs in three major reciprocal categories. Those are accounts receivable, that's the provider will have an account receivable, accounts payable, where the receiver will have the accounts payable, advances to others, advance from others, buy, sell for expenses, which the receiver will have that, and the provider the revenues. Elimination statements are found for the most part in accounts receivable, accounts payable, advances, prepayment, and exchange regular services. We as a component, we are required to know the details of those agreements. That agreement, that IAA, that reimbursable, will show you and give you this detail about the account receivable, the accounts payable, and the advances. And then when you start communicating with the components, you get your buy, sell, related costs, and your revenues.
So I just want to bring up, so this is tied to all these IAA agreements that we have, and then also some of the working capital fund agreements between headquarters and also the components. So this should not be anything different than what you do on a regular basis for your contracts. I have a contract, how much do I obligate, what is my balance now, what have I paid out? Same thing for all these interagency agreements. I have an agreement for somebody to provide services to me, how much of the services, how much of the goods, depending on what it is, have they provided, and then or if I'm providing services to somebody as a provider, where am I on that agreement? So what's happened is through the years, it kind of, at the end of the day, after 4 or 5 years after the agreement was over, it eventually was going to disappear. And it didn't really matter. But with Treasury, there's so many agreements between different agencies. The Coast Guard, I know that you've got all sorts of nippers with Navy that you cannot get the Navy to answer you on, bill you properly, everything else, and it's a struggle. So that's sort of our next stop, is to work with the agencies outside. Here at headquarters, in the components, we all deal with GSA and all of their agreements. They're trying to figure out where they are on the leases and everything else, and we have other agreements with other agencies to do different things. So at the end of the day, we should be able to know where we are on any agreement we have with, and it's really kind of a contract. What have we done so far, and what's the balance?
And offset those balances among the components. That's the main goal in here. We gotta offset those balances. We need to know how much I have paid on that agreement and how much I have revenue on that agreement. Sounds like a checkbook, like I should know how much I have, how much I pay, but it's been a little difficult, it's been a challenge. And that's what we're here. And in IG invoicing, which is gonna be presented tomorrow, is gonna help us in this process too. G invoicing will be the future on this elimination. Okay, Judy, you want to talk a little bit about the elimination differences?
So the big difference is, we've got a component, they're a provider. I had said, start beginning of the year, it's $2 million. It's halfway through the year, so I'm down to about $1 million. And I just did another IPAC for another month, so I'm showing I got $1 million. The other component is looking, and they go, well, I've already got 5 months of billing, because I haven't seen that IPAC yet. The IPAC sitting in suspense. I've got a balance of $1,200,000. So what we have now is a difference of that $200,000. Well, you take that and you across, hundreds of different agreements, and some of these are very large dollar agreements, you get this big difference. A couple of years ago, we ended the fiscal year with about $25 million of net differences. When you go out and look at absolute, it's a much larger number. So Treasury is only requiring us to have a net zero at the end of the year, which would mean my balance should match the other balance. So providing components balance should match the balance for the receiving components. But we do have multiple things, and we're going to talk about the different areas that actually cause these differences. Everybody knows we have timing due to IPAC. So we IPAC, lately we've been waiting to the end of the month, we IPAC on the 20th, 29th, and whew, we got that out there. Our receivables are good. Well, the only problem is, the other component gets that IPAC, it's the beginning of the month. What are they trying to do? They're trying to close their books, trying to get everything ready for tier. This tier is important to us here, And they haven't had time to process it, still sitting in suspense. So now you automatically have a difference. Automatically. As soon as you process that at the end of the month, the other component doesn't have time to do that. They also have things that are sitting in suspense, and sometimes suspense lasts 30 days, maybe 45, get close to that 60. I don't want to go past 60. Some of them are even longer, but we have problems because we get these IPACs and we kind of sit there and the information on the IPAC is not complete. So we have this great IPAC from TSA, I don't think I'm TSA, so I used to work there, to Coast Guard, and Coast Guard's like, what are you IPACing for? Because there's no information, no contract number, or what we see is that you've got a number that TSA has for this interagency agreement. Coast Guard said, we don't like that agreement number, we're going to call it blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, but I don't know that this agreement number is this agreement. So we have differences and delays in getting these things posted. Then we also have where we have an agreement on the $2 million over the next 3 years, we're going to do this work for TSA's going to do work for Coast Guard. Well, by the end of the year, we didn't quite get all of it done. We said, you know what, we're not going to do this anymore. So the agreement's kind of finished, but I'm still showing $400,000 that I need to process or do something on this agreement. So somebody's got to go out and say, okay, the decision's been made by the program office. The 3 years are up. We're not going to do this anymore. I need to go and deobligate this amount and basically consider this agreement closed, but you have to get both parties to agree on that. So that works great on contracts because we know exactly what to do on that. We do a modification, we all agree, we're going to deobligate. But with the agreements that get approved by the budget staff, that's a little bit more difficult because we don't really have that process. but you still gotta get both sides to agree. You gotta do a de-obligation on one side, you gotta go and reduce this on the other side to make sure we all match and go, yep, we're gonna all bless that this is now 0 and 0 and this is closed. Then we have chargebacks. So when we send IPACs, like I said, sometimes there's not enough information, so what do? We just send it back. So then we get into the chargeback group, and we send it back, and then by the time I get through my IPACs that did come in, and then I'm looking at my chargebacks the third week of the month, then I go, okay, well, I know what this is for. This is for Coast Guard. So we go, we IPAC the same thing again, without adding additional info. Coast Guard gets it again, and they go, I don't know what this is for, and they just charge it right back. So you get into these loops. So because you really don't have the right info. Or things get posted, and anybody that deals with ICE and all of their service components, especially I know like S&T, things get posted to the wrong components. Or as we've changed things and moved this little office over from here to here, it's still set up under this one component, but when it comes through, it gets charged to the wrong one. And then S&T isn't seeing their charges because they got charged to system. And then system's going, this isn't mine, so I'm going to send it back. So now we go back right into that chargeback loop again. Or we need documentation. So especially if you've got property and you've got assets, you got to have those receiving tickets to actually show we actually did get it. We got to go process it through our system properly. So I can go and say, yes, you just charged me for 10 units of X. Did we get the 10 units? Well, I know I got them, but I can't find the paperwork. Where's that receiving paperwork? And then somebody who's in another facility across the country is where they actually got shipped to and trying to find that paperwork. So we still have a lot of problems sometimes. Or the program offices, so this is all work related to program offices. Sometimes the person in charge of that program doesn't necessarily know how to document properly what work was accomplished or what work did they actually get. So if I'm paying somebody to do work for me, did I actually get that work? Did I get 100? Did I get 90? Makes a difference. Because if I know I only got 90 and you bill me for 100, what am I going to do? I'm going to charge you back, right? So we want to make sure that all of the information we get in between, so we can make sure that the process itself is going to go smoothly, so we can make sure that it's IPAC timely, and then also we have the right info so we can really get these things posted.
Any questions? Julie, so good. Okay, let's go dive into the variance. We see this in the elimination report every month. Everybody that works on elimination seeing this is extract from the elimination report. First of all, variant 1, accounts receivable. That will be the 1310. And that is basically provided through email. That's the email that you receive, the template that we as a team have developed of the elimination working group. And it will provide the balance from the agency, from your trading partner, to tell you how much you got accounts receivable. You, in the other hand, go on page 13, that's the accounts payable. We're going to match that to the provider. We know that that's the balance that they usually the route providing the service know their balances. Economy Act will allow us to ensure that we can match the balances based on the receiver. So it's important that we communicate among us. So period 1 and period 13 from period 6 on forward, we have made that 0. The reason mainly is because we can report an accrual. It's an accounts payable, it's an estimated balance. We know we're just going to put a balance based on a component, based on what the electronic fund will provide us, and we book that based on a accrual, on a balance estimated by the other component. So it's important that we communicate that the components reconcile, and remember, the new template provides a section where, you know what, I don't agree with that account, with that amount, that's not what I seal the agreement, or maybe I don't have a copy of the agreement or something. That's the time during that communication through email that we can say, okay, let me call S&T or call TSA and make sure that I'm looking at the right agreement, at the right balance at this beginning. So this is period 1 and period 13, which, by the way, in period 6, most of the agencies have it went down to 0. So congratulations to all of you that worked
People
hard
did
on
the
it.
accruals as necessary to get that to 0, because you're always gonna, I mean, right now, we're gonna have a little bit of differences. This one's easy to get to 0, you just do the accrual based on the receiving components information.
Yeah. Okay, one that's a little bit more harder would be advanced, and that would be starting period 9. We know that period 8 is the account receivable. This one, the order is a little out of order because the period 13 is the email. It's the one that you're going to receive from your provider, and they're going to tell you how much they have expense of that advance. You send that advance to your credit partner. Oh, I didn't change it. See? I was like,
Now it makes sense.
So on period 16, we have the balance that we are the advances to order that we have expense, right? So, and then on period 8 is the advance that we receive. So me as a provider, I have received an advance from, like you were saying, from TSA. So I have to let my trading partner know how much I advance, how much I have used that advance, so I can reduce that advance. I can liquidate that advance. And this is very important to communicate. And look at the agreement, guys, because the agreement will tell you if it's an advance or not for this particular agreement. That's very important. I know that's very important details in the IPAC. The IPAC, on the second page of the IPAC, it shows you the 2310. Sometimes you didn't receive an IPAC, you think that you should expense it, you put it on 6100, and oops, it was an advance. I have to reverse or reclass, do all that. So between the agreement, making sure that an agreement you look and make sure that it says it's an advance, that you keep track of that advance, and then make sure that on the IPAC, the group makes sure that on the back they says 2310 or 6100. Okay? Next, 37 and 47. These are the difficult ones. This has a lot of inconsistency. It's not accurate because we're talking about now revenue and expenses. And sometimes, like Julie was explaining before, we got that iPad, we expense, but we did a chargeback or timing differences. This will require a lot of communication and be proactive calling. And this one also requires to work as a team within your agency with maybe the IPAC team. We have to pick up the phone. Hey, I received this from CBP. Can you verify this IPAC that I got it? What IPAC is that? So maybe you need to work within your team. You have to work with the AP, probably, AP team also to ensure that you have this expenses. Or the AR, if it's the other side where we the agency provided the service, that receivable is in our books. So it's important that maybe in here, it goes beyond maybe our little finance and accounting office. This is when you have to go to the IPAC team or to the AP team or to the AR team in order to be reconciling these differences. Any questions? No? Sure? Okay, I keep going. Okay. Since no one have any questions, let's continue to the process now. So, DHSFF in November 2018, with a lot of you were in that workshop, we spent 2 days and we developed a plan to mitigate and eliminate or reduce the eliminations difference. That was very successful. 2 days. I think we all got a lot out of it. We created the business rule, the template. We worked a lot. We have a lot of work done that 2 days.
Don't forget the cookies.
And we got cookies, which by the way, today we have cookies here.
After the session, as payment for listening to us, we have homemade cookies from Anthony. They have nuts in them for those of you who are allergic to nuts, just to make sure. You're not allowed to kill your fellow employees.
Unless you're from TSA.
Thank you. By the way, thank you.
Thank you, Anthony, for bringing the cookies. And if you're looking for, I think Ollie's still looking for,
Okay, so the step that we have taken during those workshops was the first step was someone said. Regular elimination working group meetings. We know we have those bi-weekly meetings where we all communicate, we all say, we have questions. We've been progressing in our step going, because this is not easy. This is gonna take time and it's gonna take all of us to do it. This is not FM or TSA or SET. It's all of us together. It requires that communication. So during this bi-weekly meetings, it's important to call in and communicate and speak up. And this has been very good. This group is very good about speaking and asking questions and bring issues that they feel like they should be communicated among the components, because this is the time. If we communicate every 2 weeks and we talk a little bit, we can get much farther down. We also developed a standardized elimination template. We're still working on it. We developed a template. It has a section for giving the provider to give the information to the receiver, to the trading partner. That trading partner will turn around, review it, and send it back to the receiver to ensure that the numbers and the information is valid, or maybe you need more information, or you need something extra. So that template is in progress. I think it's working. Everybody has been doing a good job about using the template. We also developed elimination business rules. So we all kind of play the same game. So we have the same rules. We always will establish this rule. So we all play the same game. We don't feel like, oh no, but how come TSA can get away with this and SNC doesn't? Why? So no, we have a business rule. We know the rule. We all on the same page. So it makes the work easier. And then we require, as we said before, preparing 1 and 13, the AP accrual, and we all know that based on the Economic Act. Held elimination workshop with components to discuss issues impacting eliminations differences, and we established some commitments. Now talking about the commitment will be Judy.
Yeah, I just want to go over a couple of the business rules for those of you who aren't familiar. So one of the rules is that, the kind of complaints that we got is that we send out these templates, but components were not responding back. So we set time frames that the responses have to come by noon the day before tier, so you can get your AP, your accruals done. So we set some timelines on that, and then also for how we communicate with each other. And that's actually been working very well. So it's the same process for everybody. The big thing out of the workshop is that we divided up into 4 different groups, and each of these groups got together on one problem. And so they kind of came up with, talked through for about a full day, half a day the first day and half a day the second day, how can we really kind of resolve these issues? So one of the issues that we talked about was timing, the other one was policy, and then actually right now I forget the other two. But the whole idea is that we actually, I think one of them is on the iPads, and we kind of walked through multiple components in there to come up with, so give us some suggestions on how to fix this. Because I can sit there and come up and go, well, I think this will work great for me, and maybe a couple of the components that I know about, but then the problem is the other 10 components that won't work for them. So we needed to make sure that everybody is on board, and at the group, all of the components committed to doing these actions. So this is everybody working together, everybody's, like Emma said, on the same page. So the first one, we're going to develop a draft policy for managing elimination differences. So this is the timing of when we send the template to the receiving component, when the receiving component responds, and basically the rule for having to do that accrual at the end of every month and making sure these things are done. So we're in the process of doing that. When we do that, we're going to make that put that in the FNPM so that it becomes DHS policy. And then once we have that finalized, we expect, and the components committed, to changing your local eliminations processing policy so it matches what DHS has, and it also will match everybody else. The next thing is that we wanted to create an elimination group mailbox for each of the components. So one of the biggest stories or disputes, whatever I want to call it, is, well, I don't know who to send it to, or I sent the template to somebody and then I got a bounce back that they don't work there anymore. People change jobs and everything else, but there was always sort of, we never knew who the people at the other component was that we needed to talk to. Because it depends on what your agreement is. If it's an advance, maybe you go talk to these 3 people. If it's a payable, receivable, you talk to these people. So there's all sorts of different people. So it was very confusing to try to keep up And poor Emma tried to keep up with, at each component, who is responsible for eliminations, and then we got, well, if it's this, it's these people, if it's that. So our sort of solution is, each component now has a mailbox. So we have CDP eliminations at cdp.dhs.gov. U.S. Coast Guard has 2 boxes, one for receivables and one for payables. Everybody else has the one mailbox. So in the component then, you actually then assign people to have access to this mailbox. So when the elimination template gets sent, it's going to be in this mailbox. If there's any supporting documentation, it's in this mailbox. Copies of IAAs, it's in this mailbox. It is not in Judy's mailbox, and then when Judy wins the lottery this weekend and never checks her mail again, it's great that Judy has it in her mailbox, but nobody's ever going to see it again. And I know everybody here has had problems that we've had somebody who's been responsible, and they have copies of all the agreements in their desk. You know, it's all scanned, there's a printout in their desk, and they leave, and somebody goes, oh, we don't need this stuff, and goes and puts it in the shredder. So this way we've got one place that for every component. So if you have a question, instead of trying to figure out who of the 6 people I need to call, I just send it to that mailbox, and then the component's responsible for monitoring that mailbox. Components have to perform the monthly reconciliations using the template. So we really are serious about this template because it has all the information that you need. And then for some components, it does have the initial stuff. So I know for TSA, they like to put what the program is. This makes it easier on them to know, is this for credentialing, or is this for security, or intel, or whatever. Other components, you know, like S&T, already know because they're so small. But it just gives everybody the opportunity, but the basic information, you know, there's a place for IPAC number. If I IPAC'd you, I put my IPAC number. That's easy to know. If this IAA, and here's the number, then you give me IPAC 1472, and I've got an IPAC in suspense from TSA 1472. Now I know it's from this agreement. So to try to help components identify some of these IPACs also, so the information is there. So we require that you have to use the template. The big thing that we really kind of identified, and I kind of talked about it earlier, is that everybody IPACs the end of the month. We kind of wait, we IPAC the end of the month, and then what happens is we have all these IPACs in suspense. And so nothing's posted. We automatically give each other all these elimination differences. So one of the things is we're not commercial, we don't need to have necessarily everything in receivables on the 30th, and we're not selling receivables or anything like that. So we made a commitment to try to only IPAC between the 1st and the 15th of the month. Is it going to matter when you do the 29th or you wait to the 1st? But what that does is it gives that component, that receiving component, that month to get that IPAC posted. Get it out of suspense and post it. If you have to do an IPAC after the 15th, and there are going to be instances as things come up. I know, for example, who here is from CISA? CISA ICE. So FPS. So this issue just came up recently. They don't get the bills from the guard companies that they use for FPS until about the 20th of the month. So they can't IPAC until they get all this information, right? So we're going to have to work with you to figure out how we can do that. If you have to make a change or you have to change something, because also the program office says, yeah, I told you we did 90, but we actually did 100. You need to IPAC another 10. So if you do have to IPAC after the 15th, you have to send an email to that other component to say, hey, I've sent another IPAC for this month. I've changed this number. Just want to let you know. So you have to go notify them so they can go out, grab that IPAC, and get it posted that month so there's no differences. So if I know for sure that this IPAC is coming from TSA to Coast Guard, I can go grab it real easy. I know exactly what the agreement is because they told me, and I can quickly get it posted. We have also added that requirement to try to IPAC the 1st through 15th to the CRG. And then, like I said, we're working on the FNPM. I'm getting everything updated for that. That's a little bit more to it, but this is in the CRG. So this is going to cause all of the components to make some major process changes. This is not going to be easy. Everybody's gotten their routine, and I go through and I do this first week, I do this second week, and the 3rd week. I get ready for my IPACs, and the 4th week I go out and I go do all of my IPACs. Well, we just need to not maybe change up our schedule. Because at the end of the day, we don't like it when they do it kind of to us, so we gotta figure that out. But it's going to take time, because you're gonna have to change your processes. I know, Stacy talked about it at the CFO breakfast last week, Jeff?
Yes.
So last week, Stacy Marcotte had a meeting with all of your CFOs, and eliminations was brought up that we have got to get to that point, and it's going to take process changes. So your CFOs have been sort of warned. There's going to be more information coming out, so we know this is going to take some time. But I think once we do this, you're going to find also these differences start disappearing as soon as you get these things processed. The other commitment, if I do get an IPAC, I have to post it in the month that I got it. So basic accounting, timeliness, anybody dealing with audit and KPMG, what's one of the things they said? You're not timely in doing your transactions. When do you have to do it? In the month that they occur, right? Otherwise, it's an adjustment, and then they go, oh, that's you made an adjustment with this JD, we're going to give you an NFR because you didn't do it timely. So this way, we're going to make sure that we're doing our transactions timely like we're supposed to. The other big thing, and then all of you here, I'm sure, are going to be so happy when we start doing G-invoicing. Once it's up and going, about 2 years later, we'll be all happy.
Yeah,
But
we'll be all
it's-
happy.
Again, this is going to take a lot of work. But one of the commitments is, right now, I've been asking the components, I say, do you have a list of all of your IAs? So if I had to ask you for a list of all of your IAs, can you get me that Excel spreadsheet? And so, you're working it, but we're not there. Okay, none of the components are there. So one of the problems is that when you're going and you're trying to figure out what this IPAC is, I don't even have a list to know that between TSA and Coast Guard, I've got these 72 agreements. So it's got to be 5 of these are tied to credentialing or whatever. And I know that this IPAC has to be part of that, these 5. We don't even have those listings. So the decision was made at this workshop that since we have to go to G-invoicing anyway, we have to get these IPACs in the terms and in the agreements module. I always say it wrong. So we're going to go ahead and start by September putting in the FY19 IAAs that you've signed off on. We have to have them all in the system when we go live. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to use the G-invoicing. But to go ahead and start, and then that will be our system of record for IAAs. So as the providing component, I'm going to go in, I'm going to enter in all my information. Here's the agreement number that I call it, whatever it happens to be. The receiving component has to go in and say, okay, that's great. So this is what I call it, so I can see what this reference is. There's a copy that the providing components put in, so now you can see the agreement, not tracking down who somewhere in my organization that has a copy. But then I can also think, how do we unpack it? So the problems that we have with things not getting unpacked correctly, going to the wrong object class code, going to the wrong component, will disappear because we can go back and cross-check and double-check to make sure it's going to the right place. So we're going to be working after we kind of kick off all of the G-invoicing processes with Treasury